Oh yeah, that's it. You just tuned in to the Digital Cartridge Podcast with Sean and Micah. Listen up as they deliver you the most epic show covering movies, television, video games, and wrestling. And now, here's Sean and Micah.
What did Dr. Robotnik say after Sonic lost all his rings?
What?
Excellent. That's that's the fakest laugh I've heard yet.
It's like a terrible dad joke.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was like, I don't ever have like a good intro, like to instantly start off the podcast with. I was like, so every time, whatever the topic is, I'm gonna find a joke pertaining to it. I mean, there's other ones that I could use. Like, what does Sonic use to knock on the door?
Ooh, nope. I went completely perverted with that. Go ahead. What?
Knuckles.
so bad.
I know, but at least that one had a genuine joke. I mean, laugh instead of like Micah's, which was like an automated button that you hit.
I was trying to think of something super perverted because I went penis, and then I went cats have like weird penises. Does this hedgehog have a weird penis?
I've never seen a hedgehog's dick, so I don't know.
Like my mind went way left field.
In other news, I'm Sean.
Hey guys, I'm Micah.
Here comes a new challenger.
Hey, what's up? It's Mike from the what I hear is the very popular
WWF No Mercy.
Yeah, it might be one of the most popular episodes of all time so far.
Hey, you're welcome.
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
It was all me, right?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna blame it all. I mean, it's all on you. I mean, if it wasn't for your popularity against the whole world, it wouldn't have never happened.
Right.
It's not it's not the popularity of me like a meme every hour on the hour,
Or that like everybody we know likes wrestling.
True. That is true. I mean, I think we have a Facebook page specifically made just for that.
And that's From the Top Rope, a digital cartridge community podcast group.
You said that 100% wrong, but I'll go with it.
I was kind of there.
You're like from the podcast bottom rope pot community Facebook.com barbecue.
Here's the thing. If you like our Facebook page, I'm automatically going to invite you to like the wrestling group page. So just do that and you'll find it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my dad's in there. I'm just I saw that the other day. I was like, I'm looking at all these people in here. I'm like, damn, Mike, you just invite everybody. I'm like, before I know it, like my mom's going to be in there. No telling, but I'm just like, all right, my dad's in here. I mean, that's cool. I mean, I don't know how much he knows about wrestling, but he's going to go with it.
That's not the page where all the bad stuff goes. It's all right.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you could be in a much darker place in your life.
Yeah, I started doing, so I hit the button that says invite people and then select invite all, and it limits me to 50 invites per. And then I started doing it for your group, and I had some people message me back and was like, hey, can you stop inviting me to that weird basement group? And I was like, yeah, sure.
I'm pretty sure my dad's in that one.
Awkward.
So other than that, Micah, what's been new in your world today?
Not a ton. I got a little bit more heavily into the new Star Wars game since the last time we recorded. It's fun. This guy, I don't know if you know him, but he gives away games at Christmas, and I snagged it from him.
Nice.
What a fucking sweetheart.
Yeah, he must be a pretty swell guy.
Free games. I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I mean, I give a bunch of free Steams around every once in a while because I'm like, oh, hello, Russian hackers. You want to give me 100 games for $3? That's sure. And then, they're all like, basically like palette swaps of some other game, and I just go with it. I mean,
hey, free is free.
What have you been doing since we recorded the wrap up?
Man, other than having like really vivid dreams, which is kind of strange on my end because I don't recall like ever just like night after night after night like having dreams, and nothing's really changed in my life other than like I actually go to bed at a normal time instead of like 3. But it's funny because Do you ever have like a dream that's reoccurring? Like not like day after day, but like 5 years ago, and then like today you get like the same dream, and you're like, what the fuck did that happen? And it's weird, and it's almost like I know you and me were talking about that show on Netflix with Paul Rudd, where he gets cloned and whatnot. But I have this dream where I guess I get like bit or sick or something, and I remember whispering to somebody. I was like, "Take me to so and so," and I can't remember what it was, but I'm wrapped up like a mummy. And then they ask me like what my name is, and like instantly at that time, like my arms are no longer like wrapped up, and like hanging out of my nose is like a string, and I start pulling, one by one by one by one, till it's like all the wrapping of like the gauze and stuff completely out of me, and then I'm fine. But what's weird about it is like I've had this dream like years and years and years ago, and I woke up and I was just like, where the fuck am I?
Yeah.
Do you ever have any weird ass dreams like that?
Not like that. You probably need to go talk to one of those people who like interprets what your dreams are, what they mean, because that's a weird one.
Oh, I mean, I used to have another one when I used to get fevers. I'd always be like, it was almost like a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids type atmosphere, where I'd be running through a yard, getting chased by ants with other kids. And I remember we'd be like running through logs and whatnot, but it was always like a fever-induced dream. Like, I guess the heavier my fever got, like, I guess the closer the ants were getting or whatnot. But that's when I probably had like 10 or 15 times in my life.
I used to have one when I was little that I joined the Ninja Turtles, and that was a repeating dream.
Oh, I actually did join the Ninja Turtles, but that was on a TV commercial back in Memphis. Man, no telling how old I was, but there was a guy named Joe Cool, which was like a TV personality back then for Fox, like Saturday mornings. And at one of the malls, they had the Ninja Turtles up there, and my grandma took me up there, and I got to be on like TV with them, whatever reason. Yeah,
this is like a local affiliate thing.
Yeah, it was a local affiliate. Like Joe Cool was like a pretty like well-known guy, I guess, in the Mid-South. But like I looked like all the archives trying to find that episode, and it'd probably be 90 years old before I could ever find it.
Do you ever have dreams that you feel like eventually come true? Like I have that happen all the time.
No, but there's a dream that I had. I had to been however old I was when Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street movies were out, but I was watching TV in my parents' bedroom and watching Saturday morning cartoons. And I don't know have I told you the story before? I don't know. But Freddy Krueger lived in my bedroom selling autobiographies. And I walked to my bedroom and he saw me and came after me. And I remember locking myself in the bathroom, and we always had one of those hollow wood doors. So if you could punch or jump through it if you really tried. And I just remember his claw like going through that door and opening the door completely up. But to my recollection, whatever was on that TV when I was watching that Saturday morning cartoon, the next morning was like the same exact show.
Now mine are weird. Like I'll have a dream about something happening at work, and like just some stupid like regular run of the mill mundane stuff, and then it could be a week later, a month later, it'll go down the exact same way, and I'm like deja vu like a motherfucker.
Didn't I fucking dream this? Like premonition?
Yeah. I'm stuck in the fucking Matrix.
Well, maybe you're in an infinite time loop and you are a time traveler.
Could be. If I am, I fucking suck.
Mike, you ever have any interesting dreams or shit like that?
Man, honestly, I don't think I dream a lot. When I do, it's usually just like basic stuff or people I know. I don't really have those weird dreams. I don't know if that's just I don't sleep long enough or what it is. But like Micah said, sometimes you have those ones and it could be weeks or months later, and you're like, man, I feel like I had a dream about this. Like I remember this happening already. So, but yeah, beyond that, I don't feel like I have too many weird dreams. But maybe, like you said, some of them are fever induced, or if you're sick or stuff, maybe different things happen or something.
I'm pretty sure there's a psychiatrist that's going to listen to them and be like, I'm going to contact all three of these young gentlemen and have sessions with them.
I'm about to make some money.
Yeah. I'm going to end up in a straitjacket. These two, I don't know about them.
We're going to end up in some sort of a CIA think tank bath.
Man, as long as it's nothing like that deprivation tank that I did, I'll be all right, because the whole time I ever laid in that thing, I felt like I was going to drown, even though it's 10 inches of water that you have to lay in.
Like that egg thing where it's like quiet and...
Yes.
Yeah.
I did one of those. Angelica bought it for me last year, and I did it like probably the day or two before it ever expired, and it was fine. I mean, the problem is like it's hot. I mean, it's like 98.6 degrees. I mean, it's body temperature, water, and the whole time I'm sweating, and like I'm trying my hardest not to like rub the sweat off my forehead because there's so much salt in that water. As soon as you get in your eyes or your mouth, it is like salt water out of the ocean ain't shit compared to this salt. Because, I mean, they have hundreds and hundreds of pounds of salt water, and so your body will float, on this tin. And I could never, like, truly, like, separate, like, my whole, like, mind and go blank the whole time. Like, I thought the whole time I was like, I'm going to drown, or, like, it's hot. I was like, when is this hour up, the whole time? I could never just, like, space out for it.
Yeah, I feel like time would just, like, slowly go by in something like that if it's quiet. Like, you hear your heartbeat or whatever.
I was waiting for the music to like they play like a little melody when it's done. I was just like, oh my god, it's been an hour yet. I'm like, at one point I was like, can I just get out and just like shower off and just like leave? Like I'm done,
just tell her that I used the whole time.
Yeah, be like, yeah, just wrap it up. I mean, it was a good thing to try once, but it's something I'll never do again. I mean,
but
if I want to just like be alone.
She bought that for you. Has she ever done it?
No, I mean, I heard about it. Joe Rogan, professes that he does it daily and whatnot, and I was just like, man, that sounds cool, and I'll try it, but it's just not for me.
Yeah, I think I was watching whatever the Rob Dyrdek clip TV show's called, and I want to say he said he does that stuff daily.
Yeah, I mean, they probably have their own personal pod and everything, which makes it more convenient. Yeah, I mean, I don't have $20,000 to buy one of those.
Sure. Well, Joe Rogan's probably high when he does his, so it doesn't matter.
Oh yeah. I mean, his is probably hooked up to like a bong, and it just like infuses, with fucking weed smoke the whole time.
Just floating in bong water.
That's what I was gonna say. He's floating in CBD oil.
Yeah, I have the CBD infused saltwater crystals.
The weird things that they come up with that people pay money for.
Oh yeah, I mean, just like glory holes, all kinds of things. Weird things that people pay for. I mean, do you pay for those? I don't know.
Just like taco pizza and pepperoni pizza.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, we did do an escape room last night down in Nashville, which was really fun. And my favorite thing about escape rooms is, like, if you have a small group of people, there's a full chance that you're going to have, rando people in this room. And it was me, Angelica, my brother, and his fiance. And it was down at the Opera Mills Mall called Escape Game Nashville. We did this one, which was Gold Rush. Basically, the theme was you're looking for gold, and the mob was coming after the gold too, so you had to get the gold out before they. And it's fun because Mike, have you ever done an escape room before?
No, I mean, a couple of times walked past the one in Nashville. It always looked busy, and then they randomly opened one in Owensboro. Never been to it. Thought it was probably really generic, but it gets pretty good reviews. They just moved to like a bigger building, so. One day I may have to get a group together and actually go do it.
Yeah.
I have done the one in Evansville twice. I've been to the one in Paducah once, and then we did the one in Louisville the first year of the Arcade Expo.
Nice. Yeah, so this would be my 15th room, and
Damn.
I'm very biased on the way they are, because if it's just one single room, I feel like it's a waste. Like, I like rooms where you have to open a door to go to another room, or there's like a whole nother level to go to. And this one, I mean, telling from the pictures, it looked like there was something amazing to it. And of course, this one has multiple rooms, and actually, like, you go inside of a cabin and you have to unlock this one part, and you get to slide down a slide through a fireplace down to like a mine shaft. And so, like, it was fun. But I saw the slide, and I was like, oh, whatever, I'm going to go straight. And I went head first down this motherfucker, expecting the bottom to be cushiony a little bit. No, it was real, like, gravel rocks, and, like, my elbows are all scraped up from this. And I was just like, man. I was like, note to self, always go feet first down a slide.
So, like, when you move room to room in those things, like, is there any reason that you ever have to go back? Or it's like once you've progressed, the other room is not necessary anymore?
Sometimes there's something you have to take with you. Like, this one actually had an old, like, metal lunch pail that was still locked, so you needed to remember to bring it down the shaft with you. Otherwise, you were having to climb up a slide because there's no other way to get back up there. So, I mean, there's puzzles, locks, all kinds of things, clues to get you through these rooms. And, of course, this one, we found one. In the end, you had to find 3 pieces of gold to unlock this box that would open up to where you get the rest of the gold at. But if you forgot to bring this gold and this lunch pail down, like somebody's gonna have to go up that slide to go get it. So yeah, a lot of times you do have to bring stuff with you room to room. But it was fun. I mean, we got out with, I want to say there's 18 minutes left on this one, which was one of our probably fastest escapes as a group, which it was fun because it was us four, and then we had four other people we'd never met before. And at the end, he was like, "Yeah, man, how can I get in contact with you?" I was like, "Man, just follow Digital Cartridge Podcast." And I was like, "You can get a hold of," I was like, "You can get a hold of me that way." And he was like, "Man, you got a podcast?" I was like, "Yeah, for real, man. Just follow me." So if you're listening, man, I mean, talking about you, bro.
Gotta start having those business cards with you and just be able to hand those to people.
The one in Evansville is not bad. The one in Louisville was fun, but it was small. We were like you were talking about going into the multiple rooms, like it was one room. But they also had, that could have been the game we were playing, because they had different difficulties. Like these rooms are going to be beginner, these rooms are going to be intermediate, and these rooms are going to be for people that have done it before. And so there's a variety, and that the one in Paducah is really good, and it had, every one of theirs had multiple rooms whenever we were looking at it.
Yeah, that's what's cool. Like, well, a couple years back, we went down to Dallas, and there was one, I think, in Arlington and it was multiple. Like, you had to go in with your shoes off, actually, because the first room's full of sand. It was like an Egyptian tomb, like mummy pit, and you had to like crawl through these rooms and pull these chains back and all. I mean, it was fun. I mean, I like the ones that are multiple rooms because I feel like you get your money's worth. Like this one, I think was like $36 a room, where generally they're $20 to $25, or sometimes you can get on Groupon and look at one, put it in your cart, and then a week later you get like, an email saying this room's 50% off for like 2 days, and that's the best way to really get a deal on them.
I tell you, I've never been more pissed off though. Like we did one in Evansville one time, and they go in and of course reset everything after somebody completes it, and whoever reset the room mixed up two of the locks, and so we hit a point halfway through and could not progress. And there's speakers. So Mike, since you haven't done it, to kind of give you like a little bit of like what they do, there's a camera, like there's an operator per room, and some of the places like you can score out and make the leaderboard depending on how much time's left. But if you ask for so many hints, or hints take off time and stuff like that, but they'll give you hints if you ask for them. And This person was like, essentially we got to the point that they was telling us the combination to put in and it wasn't working. And they come into the room and they had mixed up the locks. And by that point, like we were 45 minutes into the hour and was just like, well, fuck this, I'm out.
Yeah, now that sucks. I mean, that would have me pissed. Like me and Angelica, our record is 12-12, which is, I've been with some other people, and I want to say out of all of them, I've only lost one ever, and it was with me and my brother, and we was in Nashville, and there was 4 nurses and they were the ditziest people I've ever been. I wouldn't doubt it if they weren't drunk. I mean, it's Nashville downtown, I mean, you put those together, it was just not a good time. And like, I was so upset. I was like, damn it. I was like, it's all your fault, you stupid bitches. Like I left like generally upset. I was like, these motherfucking stupid. I mean, y'all are nurses. Y'all are supposed to be intelligent people, but I guess not on that one. They're not good at problem solving. So they're like, oh, do you have Hep C, or do you have AIDS, or do you have the plague? We don't know. Just give them something. Pull them full of 50 cc's of bullshit.
I think I'd get pissed off of people trying to be the leader in something like that. I think so.
Oh yeah, like I've learned if I don't go in those without having food on my belly, I am aggressive as fuck in there, and I'm like taking shit, and I'm like, no, this is the answer. This is how you do it, the whole time. And like with 8 people, it can be a little
sure,
like who's taking the lead type of deal. And of course, like this time, I was like, I started off hard, and then I kind of cooled down once we get to the other room, because we got through the first room in like 15 minutes, and I was like, all right, this could be a pretty cakewalk.
Battlemania.
So, Battlemania. If you are not familiar with Battlemania, that is where we pit 2 topics against each other, post a poll on our Facebook page, which is Digital Cartridge Podcast on Facebook, and we allow you as a listener to choose which one wins. When you go into the poll, the last 10 episodes, we were doing food battles. So this will be our last results per food battles. And if you listen to the recap episode, we have a whole new type of poll coming up. but we'll save that for a minute and go ahead and tell everybody who won the last food battle. And that was... not me.
Yeah, that was me.
Surprise, surprise, motherfucker! The king is back!
Yeah, and I knew going into it that I was going to have a rough time by picking taco pizza, but I was trying to stay true to who I was.
I don't blame you. You know, and pepperoni pizza, pepperoni pizza is the king. I mean, generally always will be, unless you're like, you have the palate of a 12-year-old and it's just cheese pizza. Some people just, but to me, man, like pepperoni's always my go-to. It always will be. Like, I've never been a sausage person on pizzas. Like, bacon is a hit or miss, but like, I mean, when it's if I'm going to like Sbarro's or anywhere, I don't care where I'm going, like, it's pepperoni's first choice.
Well, we had a total of 103 votes, and with 69 with 69% of those votes, which was 71 to 32, you did win. So as winner, do you want to tell everybody who skipped the recap episode what we're doing for the next forever pose?
Forever.
We agreed that it's our best moving forward on how we're going to pick our movies. So from now on out, we have created a list of different genres and timelines. So it starts off with the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, which 2000s can go all the way up to 2010 if you want, but we didn't want to keep it open. But I mean, it goes from animation to comedy to horror, you name it. And we take these all off in numbers, and we're going to put them in, just go to random.org and type in the number, and whatever pops up first is what movie genre we're going to have to pick our favorite movies.
And what did we go with for this one, or what won for this one?
So yeah, this time we actually got the 1990s horror movies. So I mean, the thing is, like, this can come back again. Like, I'm not deleting these off the list. So like, if next week, if we hit this randomizer again and it says 90s horrors again, we're just going to pick again. But the best thing about these is whatever movie wins next in our movie lineup, that's going to be the movie we cover. So it's kind of like, not only do we get to pick what we're using as the Battlemania, but is you get to pick as the winners we're going to cover.
Yeah. So if you see a movie that you're like, oh shit, I'd love to hear Micah and or Sean shit all over this movie, make sure you vote for it whenever we put it in the poll.
Man, you think you got wrestling fans that are going to be mad that you're really going to have like horror movie people that are going to be mad when you shit on something.
Yeah, I mean, luckily there's not too many more wrestling movies for us to cover. I mean, there's only a handful, unless we just start covering the ones with, actual wrestlers in them.
Oh, you just wait till we get to 1980s family movies. I'm going to hit every Hulk Hogan movie out there.
So, winners rules. Since I won this one, it's my pick. Like I said, 1990s horror movies, I picked Wes Craven's New Nightmare from 1994. I'm always going to be a Freddy fan. I mean, that's the way it is. And this is, one of my favorites out of the whole selection. I mean, it's not the originals, but I mean, it's still great.
I mean, I'm partial to Freddy too, as you can tell from my Halloween family photo shoot. So I'm not hating on that choice.
So, Micah, what's your choice for this 1990s horror?
So I actually went with one that isn't like super duper mainstream, but I had never heard of it until I was working at Blockbuster. And then once I watched it, I loved it. I went with the 1998 classic, The Faculty.
Man, where is old dude from that? What's his name? Josh Hartnett?
Yeah, they had Josh Hartnett, Jordana Brewster, and Elijah Wood.
That's funny that you're talking about Jordana Brewster. Not try to go off topic, but I've been watching TV series Lethal Weapon like a crackhead lately. She's a doctor in that. I was like, it's good to see her, still being active these days.
I mean, she's got Fast and Furious money, so she can really sit back and not do shit.
Oh, yeah. So, Mike, since you're here, we don't want to leave you out. If you were to pick a 1990 horror movie off the top of your dome, what do you think would you pick?
Oh, 90s. I mean, I'd probably go with the one that's going to be either hit or miss with everybody, and that's Blair Witch Project.
Yeah, I mean when that first came out, man, it was, even though people complained about the way it was filmed, I mean, it was revolutionary, you know.
Yeah,
they
if you
weren't
never
doing
had
those found footage movies at the time.
Oh, most definitely.
If you never had Blair Witch, you would have never had Paranormal Activity.
Oh
Right.
yeah, God, those got went off hard on the deep end.
Got to cash in when you can.
So, excluding Blair Witch, which one are you picking when the poll goes up, Mike?
You don't just want to wait and see what I vote for?
He's like, you got to wait till Wednesday, bro.
Nah, I'm gonna put you on the spot.
I mean, I haven't seen The Faculty in a long time, but really after like the first Freddy, did you need the rest of them?
I don't know. That's a question for our fans.
This is true. I think I own all of them. I probably own The Faculty somewhere, but all the DVDs and Blu-ray have been boxed up for a long time. Maybe I'll rewatch both of them this week before
I was going to say, so that's a no comment.
I'll get back to you on
as
Wednesday.
you want. Yeah, exactly. But I did vote for pepperoni pizza because fuck putting all that bullshit on my pizza, Micah.
Mike really just secretly said, he's like, y'all just deliberately took 3 to 4 hours out of my life now because I have to watch 2 fucking movies before Wednesday.
Next time, you're close enough. Have you ever been to Hobo Mickeys if you come into town?
No.
Next time you're here, you need to go to Hobo Mickeys.
All right.
What is Hobo Mickeys? It sounds like a defunct Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah.
It's like a hometown kind of pizza place. Like they've been a mom and pop place.
Oh, okay, because it sounded like a bunch of like red Priuses out there, and there's homeless people having gangbangs in them. But
no, it's a mom and pop place that's been in town for 30 years. Like it's been here for forever.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I'm always down for different pizza places. I mean, I'm like Sean. Like I don't have a problem with bacon or sausage or anything on pizza. I'd much rather have pepperoni. But even like some of the places around here, like A-Zip. I don't know if you've been to one of those before, Mike, or not. But you get Grippos on your pizza, and that's a killer combo right there.
I know. I heard about that place, but we have yet to try it. I wanted to try it just because of the Grippos.
Yeah, speaking of pizza, there's a new place opening up here called 615 Pizza Company. And I looked it up, and it's Detroit-style pizza. And I was like, how are you calling this 615 Pizza Company? But then it's Detroit-style, square, rectangle, deep dish. I was like, I understand you wanted to use the name, but that's 2 totally different, areas.
They could just call it the grandma slice or whatever other names I guess they have for that.
So
I couldn't even tell you.
With Battlemania, like we mentioned earlier, we are for the foreseeable future going to be doing movie titles, and you get to directly influence what we're going to cover by choosing which movie you prefer. So make sure you check out the polls. They always drop on Wednesday afternoon. The episode announcements come up on Tuesday. Polls are on Wednesday. You let us know which one you want us to cover, and we will get to that movie in due time.
With our forever backlog that we're going to have.
Hey, meet me over by the water cooler. So, what's up? I gotta fill you in on what I've been watching. Oh, jeez. This may contain spoilers.
So, spoilers. You remember in the recap episode when I said I was going to shit on a movie?
I mean, that's every episode, but I'm down for it.
I watched The Joker, and I didn't like it at all.
I'm just going to stop this podcast right now and come to your house and beat your fucking ass and walk away like the Joker.
All right. The last 30 minutes were good. The first hour and 15 minutes of sit up fucking dragged ass for me.
All I have are negative thoughts, but you don't listen.
Like, don't get me wrong, I see where they were going, and I see what they were doing as far as trying to set it up and establish a story and establish the background and yada blah blah blah. But fucking hell, it was so slow.
See, I think if you would have gone at this and probably saw it at the theater versus like hearing everybody else's input on it, you may have had a little bit of a different intake on it.
Yeah, it was it had been hyped for me so much that I was going into it with like super high expectations. So that probably did not give it any justice.
Well, that and the whole mix of, all the superhero movies you've seen over the last like 10, 15 years now, everything's of a higher pace, and this is turning back time. I mean, literally putting you back, in the 80s, 70s feel where like it's going to have a slower tone no matter what. But if you see like the Birds of Prey trailer, which still, revolves around a Mr. J, / Joker, it's a faster paced movie regardless. But I can understand where Micah doesn't like this.
And like I said, I thought the last 30, last 45 minutes, like once it got to the turning point, like I was in, I was fully there. It felt like it took too long to set up what was coming.
Well, I mean, that's just like if you had another Batman, origin story where, we have to watch his parents die, that's going to be boring for people. But, everybody needed a lead up. They needed a story behind this to some point, at least for the version of the Joker.
Yeah, that's fair. Talking about superhero movies, they finally had the last 2 episodes of Crisis on Infinite Earths, so all 5 have been released now. Have you watched those yet?
No, like I mentioned earlier in the episode that I've been stuck watching this Lethal Weapon TV show, for I don't know why, but I mean even the first season was like 17, 18 episodes, and I was like, oh my god, because even on the preview on Hulu it shows Sean William Scott, and I was like, Sean William Scott's not in the first season, and he's not in the second season. I guess, at one point they got rid of the lead role that was playing Riggs, which the guy that plays in this movie, I mean, in the TV show, I can't think of his name right now, but he plays in probably one of my favorite B film movies called The Baytown Outlaws, which is a very underrated, like, film that you enjoyed if you watched it one time, but like, when I turned on Hulu and said, oh, Sean William Scott's in this, and I turned it on, he's not, I'm like, all right, now I have to watch up to the point where he is or isn't, in this TV show. So that's been
the other guy got kicked off for, I want to say he was harassing staff members on set or something like that.
I mean, I'll have to look into it, but I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, the way he acts and portrays, I mean, I can see that even in real life.
The last 2 episodes are real good, and they broke. So one of the big things building up with Crisis was like all the cameos and everything, because we were sharing a ton of that info. But they had a cameo that happened that crossed over into the DC movies that broke fucking Twitter. Like Twitter blew up, and I don't want to spoil it for you, but they tied everything together. Like that's always been the thing, is DC has kept their TV separate from their movies, and Marvel intertwined them together really well with like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and whatnot. And they finally crossed them over, and they did a really good job of it. That's
what's up. I mean, it's good that they did that. I mean, to expand that whole DC, universe. So, now just the door's open for anything.
I ran all the way through the first season of the Jim Carrey show that is on, I believe it's on Showtime. I mistakenly thought it was on HBO, but I believe it's Showtime, called Kidding, where it's like an extreme take on a Mr. Rogers type persona.
Okay. I mean,
season 2 of it starts next week after that, something like that. It's really well done. He's basically like he works for PBS and has a kids show, and he goes off the deep end.
Speaking of Jim Carrey, I'm waiting for our Jim Carrey movie to come out in less than a month.
Which one's that?
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh. Relevant.
Yeah.
And then I binged through, I've been catching up per your recommendation on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I'm halfway through season 2 of it because season 5 starts in like 2 weeks.
How do you feel about the show?
I like it. I don't want to say it's as good as The Office yet, but I get a lot of Office vibes.
Yeah, I mean, Sandberg's comedy is great, and having Terry Crews in that and everybody else, I mean, it's a good cast. I mean, everybody flows so well. That's what I love about that show.
And then I binged through, per your recommendation and per a buddy of the show, a friend of mine, Brandon, Brandon Cates. I binged through The Circle on Netflix, and that has to be the stupidest reality TV show that I've been invested in, and I don't know how long.
Oh, same here. Like, I turned it on a couple weeks ago, watched the first, second episode, and I was like, why am I watching this? Like, why am I drawn in? I was like, obviously Netflix has done something good by making a reality TV show and, you know, playing the whole game is, you know, we're going to release new episodes like once a week and whatnot. And the way it was drawn up, like once this show, and I mean, I don't give a shit. I'm giving you spoilers. I mean, the whole first season's over with, so deal with it. When they kick somebody off, you know, I expected, you know, it just to be like, you know, kind of just like a total elimination game, but they started bringing new cast members up, and it's basically a cross between Catfish and Real World, but nobody ever gets to see each other. I mean, it's all it's all like real world social media, and it just tripped me out how some of these people are literally catfishing through the whole freaking season and, you know, making it to these finals, and then basically the Jersey Shore knockoff homeboy, you know, wins the whole damn thing.
Yeah, like, so do you know what we're talking about, Mike? Have you seen The Circle?
I've seen people talk about it. I didn't realize that's what it even was. Like, I was about to ask if it was like an actual reality show or if it was like a rigged, like Netflix type thing.
It's an actual one. So the premise of it is they put, I think they start off with 8 people. Yeah, and 8 people. They put them in 8 separate apartments. And the only communication they have with each other is all text-based. Like, they can't video chat, they can't voice chat, nothing. It's all text-based, and they each have to create their own circle social media profile. So they have to do a bio, they have to add pictures, they can have private chats with each other, stuff like that. And then based off of the chatting and based off of like they'll come in and make them play like these little stupid mini games where everything is text based. So it's all how you infer it and all, you know, throwing emojis and flirting through text and sexting and stuff like that. And the way you kick people off is you go through and you rank them. So you say like basically like old school MySpace, like your top 8. So you put your top 8 in, and then whoever they tally up between the 8 people's rankings, they put the top 2 people as what they call influencers, like social media influencers. Right. And then those top 2 people get to decide who to send home. I mean, the fun part of it, the twist is, so say I go on and I know that a 36-year-old white dude isn't going to make it very far. So I'm catfishing and I'm playing as a 18-year-old girl, and I'm posting 18-year-old girl pictures, and all my text is nobody knows that I'm not an 18-year-old girl. I get to be an influencer, and you're at the bottom and I kick you off. You get to decide when you get kicked off to actually go to someone's apartment and visit them in person. And so that's the twist, and the reaction of it is that person walking in and seeing if the person in the apartment is actually the person that's being portrayed on the profile.
I mean, like, you describing it, the premise doesn't sound bad, but then you basically trashed it as like the worst reality show. And I've seen the stuff you watch, and you watch some dog shit reality shows.
I mean,
so for you to say that this is that bad, I don't, man, how can a show like this go more than one season?
He might say, I don't think it's as bad as he says it is.
It's not.
I mean, it seems to be the only thing I've seen people talk about on Netflix is that, and what's the show with the stalker guy? I haven't watched that yet either. So that's all I keep seeing people talk about.
That's really good
too. Shows.
My problem with The Circle is the realistic part of it, with them being trapped in this apartment for essentially 2 to 3 weeks with nothing but text based. Like, you can't tell me that they're sitting there for 24 hours, not watching movies, not watching TV, not listening to music. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Yeah. They cut out a bunch of, you know, real stuff that you could do. And they only gave you what, you know, basically what you needed to watch, you know, not what may have happened in the whole thing.
Yeah.
But,
did the whole season come out at once, or was it like episodic?
They dropped 3 episodes per week for a month, I think.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I believe it was for a month, and it was good. But I mean, there was this overweight girl that played as a friend of hers that was a very attractive girl and posed as a model. But halfway through the show, she revealed that it wasn't her, and then she got really fucking upset that they kicked her off. And I'm like, the thing is, like, it's about building trust, behind these profiles. And if you literally, halfway through say, hey, I'm not who I say I am, why would I even want to keep you on? Because they're all competing for $100,000 towards the end, and
Right.
why do you want somebody that you can't trust, for that end goal?
And they had one guy who portrayed his girlfriend, and he made it to the final 3. Like, he was there and made it all the way to the very last episode.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was, for what it was worth. I mean, I enjoyed watching it, but like towards the end, I was like, man, I just gotta get this over with. I just want to see who wins. I mean, up to this point, you get the whole premise, you get everything else, you get to see the people, and by this time, I'm done. I just want to see who wins.
Have you been to the movies lately?
Not as much as I really want to, but I did catch 1917, which was the whole based on the height of the First World War, when you had 2 young British soldiers that were given basically an impossible mission in a race against time to basically cross enemy territory to deliver a message that will stop this attack on hundreds of soldiers. The movie was really good. I mean, it's directed and written by Sam Mendes, and if you don't know who Sam Mendes is, he's done the Bond movies Spectre and Skyfall. I mean, he's done American Beauty, Jarhead. I mean, so this is not his first rodeo. I mean, the movie's good. It's very cinematic. Some people really thought it was a great cinematic movie, but I was like, look, 2020 just started. There's a lot more shit coming, because like you got Tenet coming out, which is going to be a masterpiece. I already know that. And then we also caught the movie Just Mercy, and I'm big on these real life scenarios on trying to tell a story. And this had Jamie Foxx in it and Michael B. Jordan, which was based on a guy in Alabama that for a wrongful killing. And just the movie was really good. I felt it was a good story. I mean, but this was also directed by Daniel Creston, which we probably don't know a lot of films that he's ever done, other than if you've ever seen The Glass Castle or The Shack, which are both done around the year 2017, but they weren't just like huge box office, things. But that's all I've really caught. I mean, it was good seeing Brie Larson in another movie, not playing Captain Marvel right now, and seeing her in a more dramatic role as well.
I did start watching that show, The Outsider, with Jason Bateman.
Yeah.
It's the Stephen King. It's based on a Stephen King novel, and it's got it's creepy. It's, I don't, the setting's weird. We watched the first episode, and then got halfway through the second episode, and it was really, I don't know, it was really strange. It's a Stephen King, so don't get me wrong. That's why I said you would probably like it, because it reminds me a lot of Castle Rock.
Yeah.
But it's basically, the premise of it is Jason Bateman's character gets arrested for murdering a kid. And the entire time he's saying he didn't do it, but they've got all these witnesses who've seen him, and then there's video surveillance that saw him. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting what kind of twist is into it. Of course, there's going to be some kind of twist because it's Stephen King, but it's a real slow burn as well.
Yeah, we'll have to see if it actually has an ending, something he's not good at.
And then Avenue 5 started back tonight on HBO, or not started back, but premiered tonight on HBO. That's the spaceship one with the guy from House, Hugh Laurie.
Okay.
It's tonight was the series premiere of it. Have you been watching anything, Mike? Have you watched anything TV movie wise?
Man, this week was like shitty. I was out of town 2 days for work. So lot outside of like wrestling and the 2 NFL games this weekend, I didn't have a lot of time at home to watch stuff. I did watch 1917, much like Sean. Really enjoyed that. The cinematography for that movie is pretty crazy. I see why it's getting all the praise and award nominations and stuff like that. But outside of that, for TV, man, not a lot of time lately. I really want to watch Outsider that just started on HBO last weekend. So I think they did the first like a double episode to start, and then another one tonight maybe. And like anything Stephen King, I'll pretty much watch. So I may let that show kind of get through the first season or halfway before I start it, maybe, just so I'm not waiting week to week to watch an episode.
So we talked about that for just a second when you dropped out, like I watched the first hour and half of the second hour, and it is like, have you watched Castle Rock?
I watched the first season. I haven't watched the second season yet.
Did you like it, like as far as the pacing and stuff?
Parts of it, yes. I mean, there were parts that I guess probably irked me, like a show like that, but there's so many references and like little things that connect to the Stephen King books and universe and stuff like that. So I do really enjoy it. I've heard the second season is better, but I guess it's one of those got to decide for myself type things, because I guess it just kind of depends on the mindset, kind of like you with the Joker movie. I guess it just kind of depends on how you go into it. If you like that slow burn type where they spread everything out over a whole season and it's not everything like right out of the blocks. Like what was your thoughts on it?
It's really well done. The pacing on it is very similar to Castle Rock.
Yeah.
It kept me intrigued enough that the only reason we didn't finish the second hour is because I was watching it. Spoilers, I have an early bedtime, and it was past my bedtime when we were watching it, so we stopped. And I need to go back and watch the last 30 minutes of it, and then episode 3 was tonight.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff like I'm behind on. I'm trying to catch up. Just with retail work, holidays and stuff. Like now that we're into January, I'm kind of getting past that. So I'm slowly going back and trying to catch the stuff that I missed. But being on the road this week for work, and I'm on the road a couple days next week for work, it's kind of hampered that. So like the live stuff or the real time stuff like wrestling and NFL, I kind of have to watch. But like some of these shows, I'm like, hopefully I can stay away from spoilers and stuff like that. But I'd like to catch up on those, because then Ozark's about to come back on Netflix, and I think that's one of the best shows they've probably ever had. And I'll definitely want to jump in on that pretty much the day one that drops.
Jason Bateman is so good in that too.
Man, he's good. Laura Linney's good, but I was really impressed in the second season by the girl,
the little blonde girl
that works for him. The what?
The little blonde girl.
Yeah. Like she really grew on me after the initial part of her on that show, and then the more they used her in that second season, she's just so much a vital part of that show now.
I've got to get back into once I finally catch up through Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Season 2 of Sex Education dropped on Netflix as well, so I need to watch that.
It sounds like we need to get sponsored by Netflix.
No shit.
I mean, I probably watch it more than anything. I didn't have Hulu for the longest time because I still pay for cable. I'm one of those dumbasses. Even though I pretty much have the means to most of these shows if I want to watch them, but there's so many live things that I'm just like, I don't want to not be able to access it or to tell me it's out of my network or blacked out sporting events and stuff like that. And that doesn't really ever seem to happen for me around here. So yeah. And like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, like that show got such great reviews when it first came out. And I was really surprised when it got dropped, because it was like winning award nominations and stuff with like Emmys and stuff like that. And then it got moved to another network and is pretty much picked up right where it left off. So it's one of those shows I'll definitely go back and watch. I like Andy Samberg. I like his comedy. It's just I'll probably wait till it's completely over. Maybe kind of like you did with The Office, Micah, where it'll be down the road and people are done with it, and then I'm the one catching up on something like that.
Wait 10 years and then go in and watch it?
Yeah, I won't wait that long, because I feel like it's one of those shows I could probably watch a handful of episodes a day and it not really matter. So
yeah, it's very binge worthy. So
yeah, I'll get to it
in due time.
But yeah, other than that, just not being home this week, I went and got a chance to see the Hamilton Broadway play / musical this week. super impressed with that. I understand why it gets such praise, why it's like the hottest ticket in town. It was in Nashville for about a 3-week run. I think today was their last day, but man, really surprised by some of the people that were at that, because the whole show is basically, even though it's a historical thing and they're basically covering the life of Alexander Hamilton, it's all done in rap. So like the amount of like old people, how fast paced that show is, how much like if you're not just paying attention to every word that comes out of their mouth, you're going to be lost, because they're spitting out verses. There's no spoken dialogue in that whole show. It's all rap. So I was really impressed with it, but I was just surprised at some of the people in the crowd. I was like, I don't know if they're enjoying this or not, because I don't know if they knew what they were getting themselves into, or if they just expected, oh, we're talking about Hamilton and Burr and Jefferson and George Washington and all this, or maybe they just have an open mind. So it was a great show. Really enjoyed it. So if it comes to your city and you have the chance, I know it was in Louisville like a year or two ago, missed my chance to see it then, so I really wanted to catch it this time around. So can't recommend it more.
And now, what you came here for, the main topic.
You came here for the fall issue of 1991 of Game Informer magazine for video game enthusiasts. Or did you come here for Sonic the Hedgehog? You decide. Epic rap battles of history! No. So, Micah, I know, and listeners and everybody else, this is our new content. So we are literally going through the backlogs of Game Informer magazine in order as they come. So we are in the first episode, which is the fall 1991 episode, which had the cover of Sonic the Hedgehog. Which, it's kind of surreal for me, and a little bit of a blast for the past, being an ex-Funcoland employee, having to, I guess, pretty much get forced to sell these, day in and day out. I mean, it was kind of just like, this was my job, not only to sell video games, but to push this magazine and shove it down everybody's throat. And I remember sometimes I would even buy this magazine for like other friends, be like, oh, whatever, I'm just gonna spend $10 and give them a subscription for a year, whatnot. Which, Mike, I know you're very familiar with Game Informer magazine, and Micah, what's your history with it?
I never was big on Game Informer until probably the most recently. So we didn't have, Mike, do you know when the GameStop in Madisonville opened? It's probably been within like the last 5 years.
It's probably a little bit more than that, but not by much. Yeah.
So I never, growing up, the closest GameStop for me was Owensboro, Evansville, Henderson. It a solid 30 to 45 minutes away. Let's say, our thing was Sam Goody, or what became FYE, or what was it, whatever. So I was always a big Electronic Gaming Monthly. That was my jam. But once GameStop actually came to town, I started picking up the Power Up thing and signed up for the magazines, and I really enjoy them now. But these retro ones, I don't have a fucking clue about.
Oh, most definitely. Because back then, you had GamePro and EGM, Electronic Gaming Monthly, were like your big dogs. And of course, we had Nintendo Power. There's other publications out there, but this was, coming in late in the game. It was obviously, their introductory issue only has 16 pages, where, you could get an EGM and it's probably 90 pages easily on any one of those, and, jam-packed with content. And, when you and me were talking about what are we going to do for season 2, we were really, big on doing some, video game magazine backlogs. And we shot around the idea of Nintendo Powers, but then we didn't want to be biased to nothing on that. And we needed, to keep our library open. So we looked at EGM, and it was a little hazy on that. And then moving over to Game Informer, I was like, this has good cover arts. We can move forward with them. But even with this introductory release, it might have Sonic on the actual cover, but the only content for Sonic in this actual magazine is just some Supersonic tips on random pages. There's more content on these basically pre-release reviews of Decap Attack, Micro Machines, and NHL Hockey than there is about Sonic in the whole magazine. There's a great article about the whole Game Genie controversy, which was a pretty good read, and I'll put a link to this in the show notes, because it'd be a very long read for me to give it to people. But it talks about how the whole lawsuits between each other and how they won moving forward. Which is, if it wasn't for Game Genies, I mean, obviously some games wouldn't be fun.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when you have like a iconic character like that, I mean, I guess it kind of depends. Like 91, yeah, the Genesis was out, the Nintendo and stuff, they're kind of battling back and forth, but I guess Sonic as your recognizable character would have been something to pick up as a magazine, but then again, the magazine when it first came out was something they just kind of gave away. It wasn't something you subscribed to for years.
Yeah, it was
that was later down the road. It was more just advertisements for Funco and to tell you, hey, this place buys your products and game trades and stuff like that. So I guess it was just something to.
I was gonna say, it really pushed about, the cleaning materials, which I remember having to sell these left and right. The cartridge and console cleaners. I mean, every page is talking about just how to keep your equipment clean, basically.
Well, that kind of goes back to your thing about being on the island and what would happen if your pins got bad from the salt in the air and stuff like that.
Exactly.
So
if you don't know that reference, you got to go back and listen to our recap.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I guess like when I started with Babbages and the whole company and stuff, it was kind of as the way like N64 was kind of on the way out the door. PS2 was rolling out. Everything was starting to become disc based with that, and GameCube and Dreamcast and stuff like that. So the whole thing about having to clean your cartridges or your systems was kind of a thing in the past. It was more, don't scratch your disc, make sure there's no dust on the laser. Most of the time for some of those systems, the laser was right there on top. You could just clean it off unless you had something like a PS2 where it was internal and you really didn't have a way to it. So yeah, it was, I mean, there's so many different things that those magazines have advertised over the years and different like things they've covered. So, and even up to today.
I mean, even in my years working at Funcoland, it was only from like 97 to 99. And, that's towards the end of the whole cartridge-based era. And I remember the whole Dreamcast release, obviously, but like going back to like even 91 and, 92 and all these years prior, like I don't even remember Game Informer magazine ever existing to my knowledge, these prior years. So like going back to these is it's interesting because this is content I never knew existed.
Yeah. Like when it, I remember them rolling it out to our stores about, hey, you're basically going to sign people up for this year-long subscription. It's going to come with their discount card as like a bundle and stuff. And I, at the time, really didn't know what Game Informer was. Like, I was like, oh, I think like when I was in the mall, we had a Walden's book, like a bookstore, and they would have your EGMs and PlayStation Magazine and tips and tricks and all that kind of stuff. And I kind of remember, I guess, seeing Game Informer on occasion, but really didn't know what it was until it was part of our own company. So even though it had been around for years, I guess I just wasn't really vested into the whole monthly magazine to tell me about my games and reviews. But I mean, that was early 2000s. So like internet existed, but like looking up stuff about games wasn't quite what it is, obviously what it is today. So
I'm surprised as a physical presence, like it still exists, and it's not like with the internet, the size of the internet and the way it is, that the magazine, the physical form of the magazine is still a thing.
Yeah, I mean, you go back and find an issue laying around from like, I don't know, even like a year or two ago, probably like 2 or 3 years ago. It was a thick magazine. Like they covered a lot of stuff, a lot of reviews. If you pick up the current issues, man, those things are a third of the size probably. You don't have as many games probably, or a lot of stuff just doesn't get reviewed because of the smaller titles and stuff. But obviously it probably exists just because GameStop themselves push it as a magazine that comes with their rewards program. So really, as long as they have that, they can continue to push the magazine. But they have a website. They have like the digital magazine that actually has like videos and trailers, links to purchasing the game, add-ons and stuff that they can update. So it's still the same thing, but not really so much that physical magazine, because that's kind of a media that's much like everything else physical is kind of dying off. So there's not nearly the game magazines we used to have 10 years ago. I mean, I don't know of any monthly magazine that I still get in the mail or that I would even remotely sign up for, because most of that info is just on the internet these days.
Yeah, and it's out there quicker.
Right. It's just real-time updates. There's so much info now compared to what we used to see. I mean, I can go to Twitter and see game releases and announcements and real-time reviews. Where used to, sometimes you had to wait for that magazine, and the review in it could be for a game that's been out for a month or two, or I guess sometimes they would get reviews in there before a game came out, but they don't nearly do that now. There's so much embargoed info and stuff like that they're not allowed to share. So
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, you were literally just looking at the mailbox every day and be like, and then you finally got that cellophane wrapped, magazine. You're like, yes, score. I get the cheat codes for, Mortal Kombat 2 or whatnot.
So, do we want to talk about Sonic?
We want to talk about this little blue bastard? Yeah. So, Sonic the Hedgehog, like I explained already, is a 1991 video game for the Sega Genesis. We're not talking about, when it came out on the Game Boy Advance, Windows, 3DS, iOS, Android, Apple TV, the Switch, or any of that. We're going back for the Sega Genesis. Sonic the Hedgehog is a platform game developed by the Sonic team and published by Sega for the Sega Genesis console. It was released in North America in June 1991 and in PAL regions, over in Europe and everywhere else, and Japan the following month. The game features an anthropomorphic hedgehog named Sonic in a quest to defeat Dr. Robotnik, a scientist who has imprisoned animals and robots and stolen the powerful Chaos Emeralds. The gameplay involves collecting rings as a form of health and a simple control scheme, with jumping and attacking controlled by a single button. Development began in 1990 when Sega ordered its developers to create a game featuring a mascot for the company. Now, they already had Alex Kidd, which was very similar to Mario in some ways, and they needed something that just stood out. So after considering a number of suggestions, the developers decided on a blue hedgehog and named themselves the Sonic team to match their character, Sonic the Hedgehog. He's designed for fast gameplay, which was influenced by games by Super Mario, and the Sonic the Hedgehog uses a novel technique that allows Sonic sprite to roll along curved scenery, which originated in a tech demo created by programmer Yuji Naka. Now, one thing about Sonic, his run speed, his normal speed, is the equivalent to Mario's run speed, if you've ever noticed that.
Like his standard speed is?
Yeah, his standard speed is equivalent to Mario's run speed.
I've never realized that. I don't know that I've ever paid that much attention.
Yeah, I did that. I was going through the history of this because I was like, man, I need, everybody knows who Sonic is, but do they know, who, what, why, when type of situation? And, I got deep into the whole background and character design about it because, like I mentioned, they already had Alex Kidd back on the Sega, the original Master System, but, they needed something else. And Alex Kidd wasn't doing it. So, they needed something. So they got together this whole Sonic team. And basically, his inspiration of his shoes are from Michael Jackson, from the boots on the album of The Cover Bad, and his Sonic shoes are the color scheme of Santa Claus, which they really saw as the most famous character in the world. So they were like, let's just add some things together.
I think the biggest thing for me with a Sonic game and loading it up is always going to be the music, like that initial title screen music.
Yeah.
That's always that's so iconic and so spot on that you could hear that anywhere and you're just going to be like, yep, somebody's playing Sonic.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, the thing is, it's always going to be, your Sega versus Nintendo. And I mean, now, unfortunately, Sonic has made his way over to Nintendo just from, kind of, we'll say, the demise of Sega in general. But, the gameplay it's just basically a 2D side-scrolling platform game that centers around Sonic's ability to run at high speeds through levels that include springs, slopes, bottomless pits, and vertical loops. Now, these levels are populated with hazards in the form of robots, which, like we mentioned, Dr. Robotnik has trapped animals. And if you destroy this robot, it just frees the creature. But in no part is this necessary to complete the game except for the end of a level where you have to basically hit it out of that machine to release them all. Now, the player must also avoid spikes and falling into these bottomless pits and being crushed by moving walls or platform, as well as drowning, which my number one thing I hate about Sonic is the water levels. I can deal with any level, but it has to deal with water. That's my number one, like, panic, anxiety attack instantly.
Because Sonic couldn't stay underwater like Mario could for 10 straight minutes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, Mario. I mean, Mario's good. I mean, hell, like, Micah, you're talking about, we were talking about the whole, Fallen Order Jedi game, and that dude can stay under the water indefinitely.
Spoilers, I haven't got that far.
Well, when you go swimming, you'll figure it out that you don't have to go find a bubble, and breathe every fucking 15 seconds.
You don't die when you immediately hit the water? This isn't like old school Grand Theft Auto?
No, this is... Yeah, that was, I guess they could never, design it that, but they're like, oh, we're going to expand this library eventually, and we'll go for that.
Right. Just, I guess the Sonic, like you said, having to have that character, was Alex just not popular enough to compete with Mario, or was it because you needed like an animal type mascot that would appeal more towards kids? I mean, I get it was 5-6 years later than like the Nintendo coming out and stuff like that.
Well,
like why? What? Like where's the reason to pick a blue hedgehog?
Well, they really
could have picked any animal. And
going into it, they can seem to Alex Kidd like unsatisfactory, and they needed somebody iconic, like as Mickey Mouse, like iconic, And then Sega had this competition with Nintendo, which was completely dominant at the time. Basically, really, after release Super Mario Bros. 3, they were just booming. Sega wanted that foothold in the industry. And all the company had, was limited success with Genesis ports of its arcade games, and they just knew it wouldn't be enough. So they developed ideas for these characters and, the engine and the gameplay mechanics, and they emphasized speed the whole much. So Sega eliminated character designs not associated with fast animals, as well as, fast creatures like kangaroos and squirrels. At one time, they had an idea for a rabbit, and is basically to grasp objects with its ears. And it showed promise, but it was like too complex for the hardware at the time. So the team had narrowed its search down to animals that can roll into a ball with their idea of an attacking move. So the designers then realized that this would not seem aggressive enough, so they focused on 2 animals with spikes, and they had armadillos and hedgehogs. The hedgehog character, first being proposed by Naoto Oshima, prevailed, although the armadillo would later become the basis for Mighty the Armadillo, who later appeared in the 1993's Sega Sonic the Hedgehog. Oshima, admitted that he created Sonic's base designed from combining Felix the cat with Mickey Mouse's body. So if you look at, Sonic, and it's basically Mickey Mouse's body with Felix the cat's head. So he explained that his inspiration for creating Sonic was Sega wanted a game that would be successful in the United States with a new mascot concurrently, and he was working on this prototype game. And they were thinking of designs with the toy and the stationery department before Sonic was ever chosen. So other characters, including the rabbit, a bearded man who would ultimately become Dr. Robotnik, were created. So Oshima went to vacation in New York, taking sketches with him, and he went to Central Park and asked locals for their opinions on him, and Sonic was the favorite. So he came back and explained this was basically what he wanted for his ideas. Now, Sonic was originally teal-colored, and then a light shade of blue, but he was changed to a dark blue so he'd stand out against certain backgrounds. Because if he was teal or that light shade, when you jump in the air, it's going to be the same color as the background. And also, one thing about Sonic, he matches the color of the Sega logo.
Is there other than just the same marketing shit, is there a reason why Tails is not in the first Sonic?
There wasn't availability for a 2-player game with what they had yet, so I think moving forward into Sonic 2 is when they were able to work into 2-player objects. So I think they really just wanted that one single-player mascot, just like, Mario. Originally, you just had Mario as, your only person. Then you obviously had, your enemies and whatnot. So I think their main mindset was time frames and just getting this game out to compete with Mario the whole time. And, then we'll get our mascot add-ons later.
Yeah, see, I feel like it's always Mario and Luigi. Like, why not have Tails in the first one?
And that's obviously has to go with them not being able to work with the 2-player mechanics and what that for the programming.
Yeah, I mean, the game, like I fired up the game today, and it's still, for what it is kind of impressive. Like, the scale of some of the levels. I know, like, a lot of it's repeating and stuff like that, but like how fast you go in that game, how much stuff you fly past, and there's not like a lot of slowdown in that game. The only time I really ran into a lot of that was the water levels. Like sometimes it just kind of like freezes along and stuff like that. But like I'm really impressed by when you are going 1,000 miles per hour and you're going through all these twists and turns and jumping over half the level and stuff like that, like how quickly a game like that actually processes all that compared to a game like even like the old Mario Brothers. Yeah, it came out years before, but a lot of that game is just kind of the same level design kind of over and over. It's a lot of like palette swaps and a lot of it's just what's on the screen in front of you. There's not a lot above you or below you unless you go down a pipe and it's actually changing to another level, because Mario, you're pretty much linear. You're going this, where Sonic, you have different ways to get through the levels, and the fact you could go front and back and up and down and stuff like that. So, but when I went into this game, obviously that iconic level to really start, like Micah said, the music and stuff like that. But it took me about 10 minutes to realize I may have never played this game before. I think I was always playing Sonic 2 because I couldn't figure out why the fuck Sonic couldn't do his spin dash. And then I realized it's not in the game. I guess that came later. And I started thinking back because when I was a kid, we had a regular Nintendo and it was kind of our family console. Like it didn't belong to a single kid or anything like that. And then my older brother, who when he turned 16 got a Sega Genesis for his birthday, is about 4 or 5 years older than me. And I think his system came with Sonic 2. So that maybe is what I was so used to playing. So the game is still very similar, pick up and play, but just some of those little mechanics like the spin and having the option to play as Tails and stuff like that is what really I started playing the game. I was like, man, I don't remember a lot of these levels, especially as I got further through the game.
Oh, and the one good thing about this is, when this game came out, it was the fastest, character you ever had in a game, with not even just him, the whole gameplay in the levels was just fast. Between like rotation effects, and then obviously if you get more, if you end the level with more than 50 rings, you're going to go to a special stage as long as you jump up into the giant ring, which that's how you obviously get your Chaos Emerald. And like I said, if you play Mike, if you mentioned you played the later games, if you got all the Chaos Emeralds, you got to turn into Super Sonic, which in Sonic 1, you didn't get that option. You just got to collect all the Chaos Emeralds. And the only thing this game defines with that is you get a special ending compared to just your normal ending get after completing the game.
Gotcha. Yeah, I remember playing a lot of Sonic 2. Man, really past that, like pick up and play at like somebody else's house, like Sonic and Knuckles and stuff like that. And then I played Sonic Mania when it came out a couple years back. But yeah, we were more of a Nintendo household growing up, so it was always Mario 1 and 2, 3 as it came along towards the end of the run and stuff. So yeah, I played some Sonic as a kid, but just not nearly as much as probably we played Mario as a family probably.
And I feel like with this one, like a lot of the Robotnik fights were super simple. Like, and I don't know if that's a marketing thing as well.
Yeah, because a lot of it's just running into him and dodging maybe one object or a certain pattern. I guess there wasn't like a puzzle to it or anything like that.
Oh yeah, like even the one where he's in I think it's in the Scrap Brain Zone where he's going up and down through or that may have been the Starlight, where he's going through like the pillars to go up and down and it's shooting the little 4 orbs. They're very easy to dodge, where in later on games, like they're coming at you, where this you can just stand in one spot and avoid them the whole time and just knock them left and right.
Yeah, and it's kind of not disappointing, I guess, that those levels are so easy, because there's some really smart things in the game, like the stuff of sometimes you're pushing bricks off into the lava, and then that's how you have to get from one area to another, or opening up a gate by jumping on a lever and stuff like that. It wasn't just strictly running through the levels and jumping over enemies and collecting the rings. There's actually like some puzzles and stuff in a game like this. So maybe even that was kind of ahead of its time for such a simple, what should have been a simple game. There's just a lot more like deeper things I think to this game than people sometimes think about.
Even like the branching paths to hit the end. Like, in Mario, there's one way to get to the end, where in Sonic you can go multiple different directions, but you're still going to make it towards the end. But you might go in the higher part of the level, the middle, or even the bottom part of this, to work your way towards that direction.
But nothing as frustrating as when you have all those rings and then you're going a million miles per hour and you just slam into an enemy and your rings go in a million directions.
Yeah, honestly, if you're not trying to get the Chaos Emeralds, and to these special stages, like, I'm only worried about trying to end the level with one ring. That's my biggest, thing.
As long as you got that. Yeah, you just got to pretty much have that one to keep from losing lives. I mean, there are a few times where if you fall into certain stuff, it instant death. But for the most part, it's just having that ring to keep you alive. And then when you drop one, trying to pick it up before it disappears or goes off the screen.
Yeah, that was, I guess, for establishing like a different mechanic on, like, for what you could essentially call a health bar. Like, I really like that take on it. Like, when they made this game, like, you don't have a standard health bar. You get hit, and then the rings are essentially your health.
I mean, honestly, other than, I go through the zones that you have. When you have the Green Hill Zone, the Marble Zone, the Spring Yard Zone, Labyrinth Zone, Starlight Zone, Scrap Brain Zone, and then obviously the final zone, which is your final boss fight. It's a short game. I mean, you can casually play this and beat this in what, you say, an hour and a half?
Yeah, I played through it today. I did beat it. Obviously, I cheated. I have the Sega Genesis collection on the PS4 that has that rewind feature. So, like, if I went to die, I was like, oh, let me hit that L2 real quick and get back on that ledge. Okay, I'll make the jump this time. So for a quick way to beat that game, but yeah, I have probably, easily 5 or 6 different ways of playing this game on like the Genesis Mini and some of the other consoles and stuff and collections. But I was like, I'll just play it off this disc. And then I didn't even think about it having that rewind feature, because otherwise I would have got frustrated about how many times I died falling off into lava and stuff like that.
Yeah, because
or drowning in the water and stuff like that.
I finally used my last continue in the Scrap Brain Zone, which is, your second to last, and it was during the second act. And I was like, I got to restart this all again. And then luckily, Sonic was, the Sega was friendly for cheat codes. So if you're at basically the main screen where Sonic's, up there, if you hit up, down, left, right, you're going to hear the ring noise like you get when you collect a ring. And then you just hold A and press start. This is when you get the level select menu. And I went straight back and started off from where I was so I could finish the game.
I think it took me, when it was all said and done, I think I was right at 2 hours.
It's not bad. Not bad.
Which is pretty impressive for that game, because, like, I mean, if you're not so much speed running a game like that, but like the game's kind of spread out, where something like a Mario 1, you can literally, with all the warps and stuff, you can beat that game in under 10-15 minutes pretty easily these days. So to think about how much our parents paid for some of these games, if we were beating those games that quick back then, our parents probably would have kicked our ass, be like, I'm done with this game that I paid $70 for.
Oh, most definitely
2 hours ago.
And obviously my favorite thing about Sega games versus Nintendo games, and nothing to hate on the Nintendo, is just that wonderful, nice, hard clamshell case you got. I mean, that was my favorite thing. Like, Nintendo boxes, you just kind of just chunked them off to the side unless you were, you knew better. But obviously, if people had Sega games, they always kept that case. I mean, it's a hard case, like a rental case almost.
Yeah, we were all like probably less than 10. We probably just chucked that shit because we definitely didn't know better back then.
Oh yeah.
Plus, it wasn't ours. We didn't pay for
exactly.
it, so we didn't give a
it's
shit.
Not my money. But I mean, like I mentioned in the Sonic Mania episode, is I remember my mom taking me to a convention center and buying my first Sega Genesis. This was one of the games, obviously, that I got with it. Playing this game like makes me go back to like the 90s and just like, man, I'm like, I remember like all this as well as it's just yesterday.
And the fact that like Sonic is still relevant to this day.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if you listen to this episode, I mean, less than a month away, you got the movie coming out.
I think for me, and I know it's designed to be that way, but I felt like I was playing Sonic Mania all over again, to be honest.
Well, honestly, if you have to revert that back, Sonic Mania makes you playing Sonic 1 all over again.
Yeah. Potato, tomato.
Yeah, potato. So other than that, I mean, that's all I got really for Sonic. I mean, if you don't know who Sonic is, I mean, I don't know where you've been, or I mean, how old you are, one of the two. So
Yeah, and if you've never played Sonic the Hedgehog or any of the Sonic series, like, the fuck have you been doing with your life?
It's nice that like retro games like that still hold up. You can just pick them up and still play and enjoy them even today. So
oh, most definitely. So Micah, if you were to put this game in your collection, if your collection involved your top shelf, your middle shelf, your bottom shelf, or that wonderful glass case on the top that holds your rarest, most coveted of all time items, or I mean, we can put in that little basket down on the side that like kind of where your one of your other favorite games of all time is. Where would you rank this game?
I meant to go back and re-listen to Sonic Mania to see where I ranked it, just to kind of be fair. And I don't remember, and I didn't do that because I'm a slacker. But I'm gonna say bottom shelf. Sonic 2 for me is the Sonic, like, the bar. Like, that's the best Sonic game there is. Like Mike was talking about earlier, I don't know if that's nostalgia just because that's what I played the most of. And this one, after having played so much Sonic 2 and having played Sonic Mania recently, it doesn't hold up as well to me for some reason. And I don't know, like, everything's iconic. The music, like we talked about, is spot on. The levels, Green Hill Zone, like, you can mention Green Hill Zone and somebody's going to know what you're talking about. The water stages are frustrating, but it's not the word. It's not Super Mario Brothers 2. Ha! But it's not a great game, so I'm going to go bottom shelf. What about you?
Man, so I'm not going to try to bring my past into this. Where I mentioned my mom took me to convention center, and this was one of the first games I ever got with my Sega Genesis. But this game is a middle shelf game for me. It's obviously it's not Sonic 2, which is a lot more fun. You get your spin dash, you get all the more he gets upgrades by then. Maybe Sonic's just learned, after his fights with Dr. Robotnik, gets to evolve, kind of like I've related, in past times that Sonic is kind of like a Super Saiyan. He's the whole Dragon Ball Z. He gets the Chaos Emeralds, turns into Super Sonic. So he hasn't evolved yet. So this is still Sonic's first form. So it's definitely a middle shelf for me, just because no matter what, like, this game is fun. I mean, I can rank Mario games in different marks, and where they're going to be at. But like, this is it's a medium tier game for me at all times. It's still fun to play. Or what? And I mean, sometimes I'll just have fun playing, the Green Hill Zone and the Marble Zone, and be completely done with this game. All I wanted was a little bit of Sonic. I wanted some nostalgia, and that's really about it.
What about for you, Lanham?
yeah, I kind of gotta go with what Sean's saying. Like, it's a middle shelf game for me. Like, yeah, it's not Sonic 2, but if you put it on that same like level playing field with like a Mario game, like Mario 1, 2, and 3, they're all platformers. They're all like your left to right running games, but they're all so different. Where Sonic, I think, knew what they had with the first game. So like, Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 are not all that different. Yes, they added some new features and levels and stuff like that, and the game looks better and just plays better, but it's still really based off of part 1. You pick up and play, and you look at it, and you would almost, if you weren't just like a connoisseur and knew exactly what the levels were, you could look at the two side by side and may not know which one's which. So I really enjoy the game. It's easy to pick up and play. It's something like I could see like parents today having that nostalgia, and they're going to pick it up and hand it to their kid and be like, hey, play this. And the kid's going to be frustrated how difficult they find these newer games. So yeah, it's a middle shelf game for me. It's not going to make it to that top shelf or glass case or anything, but Sonic's definitely one of those games that's a staple in everybody's childhood. Whether you had a Sega system in your house or not, you definitely played it at a friend's house. And if it was around today, it was sitting there and you needed something to play, most people would pick up and play. I don't know too many people who just go, I hate Sonic. I never got into a Sonic game.
And even on, I was going to say on GameSpot.com, I mean, this has an average rating from 6,860 ratings is an 8.3. So, I mean, it's got a positive review no matter what.
Do you have anything else to say about Sonic the Hedgehog before we jump into the outro?
No, I can't think. Not really. I mean, he's the same guy he always will be.
That is fair. Unless they're going to make a movie about him and then the internet's going to complain and then they'll redesign him.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, and
Hey, but if
I was
no,
going
go
to say
ahead.
they didn't really spend too much money. They said, having to redesign, Sonic. So, I mean, luckily, all the live action was done. Everything else is just done through animation.
But if your internet's complaining that much about how a character looks, like an animated character in a movie, then obviously there's enough Sonic fans out there to show that they care and they want a movie, if you're going to make a movie like this, to be done right. So they could have just put it out. It could have been bad, like the Mario movie and stuff, just had no effort into it. So at least it looks like they're trying. I don't know if the movie itself's going to be great or not. I mean, you've got some money vested into it. You've got Jim Carrey in it. So I don't have high expectations, but I hope it's an enjoyable movie, and I hope it satisfies everybody when it comes out.
I mean, it can't be as bad as the original Mario. This movie, that's said, pretty far down.
the bar is set so low.
Yeah, I mean, it might be par and par with Double Dragon, but I mean, it'll never be Mario Brothers. So.
All right. So if you've made it this far, of course, we want to thank you for downloading, for streaming, for listening to this episode. You can find all of our previous episodes at digitalcartridgepodcast.com. There are also links at the top of the page that link you over to our Amazon store where you can purchase t-shirts that have our beautiful logo on there. There is a link on there to our social media. We do have a Facebook page that you can go on there, and there will be a meme shared every hour on the hour.
Yeah, I mean, business working, normal working hours. I mean, I could do it, 24 hours a day if I really wanted to. But I mean, the one thing I like about our page that stands out from a lot of other pages, and I'm not pointing fingers. Don't look at this as no thing, but we also give content on game releases, movie releases, all kinds of stuff.
We share a lot of news.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're looking for just memes, it's there. But I mean, if you want news to stay up to date, like hey, this movie's coming out, or like this got delayed, or stuff like that, it's there. I mean, we give you other stuff, and we're constantly sharing all kinds of content. So I mean, like I said, you're gonna get your memes on the hour by the hour as long as you're at work. If you see it at 12 o'clock, I mean, it's predetermined destiny. I'll put this shit, in Facebook's, stuff and say, release it at this time, get gone. But there's always, we're always sharing all kinds of crazy content about, who, what, when, and there type of stuff. So, I mean, look at it as almost like a news media source as well.
We're like, what is one of those fucking bullshit ones? Uprocks.
Yeah.
We're like Uprocks, but less annoying.
Yeah, I don't know. We're pretty annoying at times, I think.
There's also links to our Instagram and Twitter. We do post on there as well, not as frequently, but we do post on there.
Hey, I'm working on it.
There's a link on there to our Patreon. If you enjoy our episodes, you want to help us out, you can jump on there. You donate as little as $1, and you get access to some backlog stuff on there, including a full episode of Nothing But Dad Jokes that Sean did with Ben from the Street Pizza podcast. And then there are also videos of myself and Sean eating the one chip challenge that Mike provided to us.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this episode now that you're on it, and I thought about the chip.
Sorry, Sean.
It's okay. I think I'm fully recovered by now.
On Facebook, we also have a couple of groups if you want to interact. We do have the From the Top Rope group on Facebook. That is where we share all of the wrestling news, wrestling stories, wrestling If there's any like live streams going on, we try to share anything we can find with that. I mean, a lot of content if you're into WWE or AEW or NWA or Impact or anything like that. And then we also have the what do you want to call it? The real dark side of Facebook.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, yeah, it's the bookend of the Facebook. It's the very last place you want to be.
Is it like the left side, like the front end, or is it like the right side, like the butt end?
Like it's the butt end. Like I mean, it's obviously where the butt is, the dick and butt.
The butt. You can find that group. That one is a private group, but if you go to Digital Cartridge Podcast on Facebook, it will link you in there. That is Uncle Touchy's Naked Puzzle Basement.
Naked or naked?
Oh, it's
naked.
Naked. That's that Kentucky twang coming out of Micah.
Micah's full of that Kentucky twang.
You have no idea.
Yeah, that wrestling group's gonna get pretty over the top next weekend with the Rumble coming up because you guys won't record again before that happens. So
yeah,
should be a lot of interaction going on next weekend on that page.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to the Rumble for the first time in a while. Looking forward to some main WWE stuff.
That's good. I mean, it's been kind of quiet.
Yeah, we may have to see if we want to do a like a poll or something where everybody draws a number for the Rumble. See if we can't throw in some money or a prize or something for somebody to win.
Kind of like Super Bowl squares, but with wrestling.
Super Bowl squares.
You never played Super Bowl squares?
Negative, Ghost Rider.
All right, I'll show you. I'll show you all about that later. There's a lot of money to be made that way. But I guess, Michael, we haven't even told them what we're going to be covering for the next episode, unless they have every Game Informer magazine sitting in front of them, or just know how to find the whole cover gallery.
Yeah, if you go into your closet and pull out issue 2, you already know.
Yeah. It's going to be another Sega Genesis game, but we get to go play Toe Jam and Earl. And if you've never played this game, Micah, I'm really, really, really curious to see how you're going to react for this one.
I have not, so it will be interesting. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I've heard about it, but I've never played it.
Well, other than that, I guess we're out of here, aren't we?
Yeah. We can tell everybody where they can call us real quick.
Oh yeah,
because we do have a voicemail.
911. If you need to get a hold of us.
We do have a voicemail that we're going to listen to. That is 470 digital. It's 470-344-4825.
So call that number as we get the fuck out of here. Stick around after the music.
This is way past my bedtime. Bye.
Adios.
Peace.
What's up, guys? This is Sean over at Nerdy Thursday. You guys are talking about Sonic the Hedgehog. Well, I gotta admit, I am currently a Nintendo fanboy. I love Nintendo, and even when I was a kid, I had an NES. Loved going to my grandma's to play her SNES, but we had a Genesis upstairs that was my parents, right? And like they had a couple of games, Vermilion and Clax, and a couple of the Sonic games, and Sonic is one of the games that stands out for me in my life. I think is a fantastic game. It was a hard game. It was also a game that like Mitch and I played at our youth center by my house. So like they had a whole game room with Genesi. But yeah, I don't know. Did you guys ever, like, while growing up, have a youth center where you could just like go play like pool and like video games and dodgeball and shit? Let me know. Peace. Enjoy the show.
I had somewhere I went as a youth.
That's called juvenile court.
No, it was called Uncle Touchy's basement. Boom.
Sean, funny you asked that. And funny I had to mention juvenile court. I had a troubled youth, or I may or may have not been chased down by the cops a couple times and was given community service. And I was given community service to work at a church. And after my 80 hours or whatever was up, I stuck around and like kept working until they hired me and it was kind of weird, for someone who works community service to actually enjoy the job they're doing until like this company actually hires you. So we worked for this church and they hired us, and they had a family life center, which had basically a full court basketball court, dodgeball, a bowling alley, and all kinds of stuff like that. We never had any video games in there, but we were always playing basketball and bowling over there.
Yeah, we didn't have, I guess like when I was a kid, they had like an after school program, but like I lived 2 blocks from the elementary school that I went to. So we walked home every day after school. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad worked. So pretty much every day after school, I went immediately home, or I would go to like a friend's house. So programs like that, like they existed, I guess, to a point. But like the only youth centers I can ever remember in our town would have been like the YMCA or the Boys and Girls Club. But a lot of that was like where we would have basketball practice and stuff like that. And when we would show up, like all the youth, like after school stuff was already over, but they did have like pool tables, and I want to say maybe like a bumper pool and foosball and stuff like that. But I mean, if they had video games and different stuff like that, they probably had all that stuff locked up before anybody else came in there, probably just to make sure stuff didn't walk out the door without anyone's knowledge.
Yeah, fucking heathens.
I mean, growing up, we probably assumed that that's the people that went there were the
yeah.
heathens, like the people parents worked late or didn't want you at home, or you had to go somewhere like this. You weren't allowed to be at your house or something, because they probably thought you're better off going here after school and studying and being around other kids and stuff like that, not running the streets and stuff like I did. Like, obviously I did some stupid shit when I was a kid and got in trouble, not probably to the extent that sounds like Sean got into, but yeah, there were definitely a lot of threats from my parents. A lot of times I would disappear for hours on end, and I'd come home and my mom would be pissed, and I'd get grounded or get my ass whipped or whatever. So yeah, definitely some good times as a kid.
What you just mentioned about me getting in trouble, saying it really makes me think about a great intro story in the next episode.